Hi, I am so excited today to introduce you to the next, who I think will probably be the next DA of Tulsa County, and that is Colleen McCarty. I want you to really get to know her in a real way, the kind of person that she is, what she really wants for Tulsa County, and her vision for every bit of it, because she has a plan, and that's the truth. So, here is Colleen McCarty. Hi.
Hi, Cinderella. Thank you so much for having me.
Uh-huh. Thank you for being here. So let's share something about you that nobody knows. I mean, where did you grow up?
I really come from an iconic Tulsa family.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up at 41st and Lewis here in Tulsa. My grandparents, Paul and Lila Marshall, they started the Bama companies in 1932. So people really remember leaving Wilson Elementary and walking across the street to the sweet shop and buying 5-cent pies and biscuits after school, and it would smell like cinnamon. And so it's a really wholesome memory of back then. And then my granddad went on to invent the handheld fried pie. So yeah, the pies back then were all round, right? Like you would just cut a slice of pie, and he was the first one to think of the idea of having them be in the rectangular shape for the drive-ins. So he would drive around the country and sell them to the drive-ins, these fried apple pies that he invented. And then one day he drove to Chicago to try to sell it to Ray Kroc, who started McDonald's. This was in the 60s, and sold it to him on a handshake deal. And that's like, and the rest is history kind of thing. So if you go to McDonald's today, it's the same pie that he sold to them back then. There's some things that are different about it. It's not fried anymore. It's got a lattice crust now and things like that, but the same contract. We still sell all the pies to McDonald's here in North America and in Europe. And then we've also expanded. My mom took over the company in 1985, the year that I was born, and she has grown it exponentially under her tenure. And so she's added Subway, Pizza Hut, and Taco Bell, and some other big customers.
Wow.
And so I had the privilege to grow up in Tulsa. We've provided thousands of jobs to Tulsans over my lifetime. I got to grow up in one of the most respected quality cultures in a family business ever, I think. It's globally recognized for how they treat their people and how the quality of their products. And so I count myself as very blessed to be able to have grown up in that and learn from my mom, who's such an iconic leader, just about how to treat people and how to run a corporate culture, how to create a corporate culture that makes people feel valued.
So no wonder leadership is so important to you.
Yes.
I've met your mother
Yes.
years and years ago, and just talking about just exactly that, being a woman-owned business,
Yes.
and dealing with that sort of thing as a woman, and then leadership, and then just being able to maintain the employees she had because they respected them.
Yes.
I mean, it was truly a team thing for her.
Yes. And
right?
she could have run it as a biscuit business. She could have run it as a pie business and just made it, about the pies. But she doesn't do that. She makes it about the people. And their slogan has always been, ever since I was a kid, it's been people helping people be successful. And so every day when people show up, it's a family, and they know, like, I'm not just making pies and biscuits. I'm lifting people out of poverty. I'm helping my coworker buy their first house. I'm helping my coworker find therapy or find a spiritual community or connect in the community and volunteer. There's so many things that they do for people that are just not just about work. It's about the whole person. And so that's what I was lucky enough to grow up in. And I started there working in the mailroom when I was 16, and then worked my way up as I went to college and got my degrees, worked in different roles there. And I ended my career there as the head of training. We started something called Bama University, where we really brought all of the training that she has done over her career together in like this curriculum that we were training. And I was able to go into the plants. I was going in at like 2 a.m, 3 a.m for our third shift team members and training them. Just the basics of like leadership skills and respect and communication and those kinds of things. Because we believe in what we call homegrown. So promoting from within. And you can't promote from within if you don't train people the basic leadership skills that you want them to have. And so we started training those folks on the floor when I was there in 2016. And then I had to go on bed rest because I was pregnant with my son. It was a very complicated pregnancy. We thought we were going to lose him. It was about 14 or 15 weeks of just straight, you can walk downstairs and sit on the couch, and then you can walk back upstairs and go to bed. It was emotionally and physically awful time in my life, but it's also the time I talk about a lot when God came to me and basically said, you're not living in your purpose. It's difficult to talk about when you're groomed for your whole life to go into the family business and it's going to remain family owned. That's the goal. And, you have to go and tell your mom, who's been supportive of everything you've ever done in your whole life, that you are going to leave the family company to go to law school because, there's something bigger that you're supposed to do. It was a difficult conversation, but she was so supportive and so awesome about it. She supported me through everything I've ever wanted to do, including this election, including this race. And so, it's been an incredible journey. I started that summer afterwards in 2017, and I wanted to be a DA. I wanted to be an assistant district attorney because I love criminal law. That was the path that I was sort of getting driven onto. It was a really interesting experience. I got to work in Steve's office, actually, my opponent, for a while at the Juvenile Bureau. And then I worked for Jack Thorpe out in Wagner County, and I worked at the U.S. Attorney's Office of Federal Northern District. I got kind of training in all different types of prosecution, so federal, rural, and urban, and learned a lot about the system. I also worked for the public defender for a while, and then ended up going more into policy, so working at the legislature with our Republican leaders, trying to save us taxpayer dollars and kind of wind back the gigantic, gargantuan monster that is the criminal justice system. It is still big government when we give untold amounts of taxpayer dollars to, keeping people incarcerated longer than they need to be, to fines and fees that keep them sort of enslaved to this system, to surveillance, ways that we keep people, on watch even after they're done with their sentences. And so it's interesting. People think there's no such thing as like Republican or conservative criminal reform, but there is. It's about, what
does that look like?
It's trying to be less invasive in people's lives. Of course, if somebody is a risk to public safety and they've hurt people, they need to go to prison. Like, I'm not ever going to say that they don't need to go to prison, and they need to go there until they've learned their lesson and until they're not going to hurt anybody anymore. And for some people, that's never, right? Like, they're just dangerous people that need to be separated. That's a small percentage of people. Most people, they commit their crimes when they're younger and they grow out of it, and they can become productive citizens again if we give them the tools and the training and the treatment that they need. But right now that's not happening. So we're not giving them the tools, training, treatment before they end up getting involved in the system. And then we're also not giving it to them once they get involved in the system. And so helping people get the treatment that they need, and then doing risk assessments on their behavior to see, like, hey, are you still a risk? And if you're not, then let's find a way to get you safely put back in the community. And then let's slowly start pulling away these sort of safety nets as you become more integrated into your community. And we see you having success with that. So we don't need to continue assessing fines and fees and probation fees and surveillance fees on them for their entire life. And that's what we're doing now. And so we're putting the cost of the system on the backs of the people who can least afford it.
Right. I mean, because after being in jail or prison and then coming back into, society, I mean, they have a hard time getting started again.
Right.
So they have to take jobs that they don't make a lot of money.
Right.
And it just keeps them, I mean, in my opinion, it keeps them pushed down.
It does.
Right.
And that's not the conservative way. That's not the Republican way. We want people to be able to pull themselves up by their bootstraps and be successful and join the American dream, just like all of us.
Right.
And when the actual government is part of the problem, keeping people from doing that, I don't think that's very conservative or Republican. And so That's to me what, Republican reform of a criminal system looks like. It's not about quote unquote soft on crime or anything like that. Nobody wants that.
No. So I agree with all of that. And I know that you've been on many, debates and all of that stuff where the death penalty has been brought up. So do you want to say whether you're for that or against it?
Yeah, I'll talk about that. That was one of the things I had to ask myself when I was deciding if I would run for this position, because the most grave and serious task of a district attorney is having to potentially file what we call a bill of particulars, which is essentially a death warrant that you're willing to take the life of another for a crime that they've committed. And, I really weighed that in my soul and in my heart. And, if the crime presented itself and the evidence was there and it was heinous, atrocious, and cruel, and it was an ongoing risk to others, I would file it. A lot of people are surprised by that. But no, I think there's a place for it. I think it needs to be executed correctly. It needs to be flawless, essentially. We can't have these cases where we're filing bills on people and then we're hiding evidence, or we're not disclosing exculpatory, evidence, things like that. What's happened in the Richard Glossop case. There's just, it can't be one of those things where we're just not sure, but we're going to go forward with the execution. It needs to be that we absolutely know for certain that that person absolutely did it and that their process was fair. But yes, I would.
Good. Okay, so I want to talk about something that really has not been talked about.
Okay.
And that's family.
Yes.
And that's domestic violence.
Yes.
And it happens to both men and women.
Yes.
And keeping the streets safe downtown, that's super important.
Yes.
I agree with that. But I think what's more important than that is keeping our home safe.
Yes.
And until we get our family back in order, how is that going to happen? It won't.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about what you would like to do for the family.
Yeah. Okay. Well, domestic violence and sexual violence has been a predominant part of my legal practice for the last few years. It's actually supporting victims of domestic violence and sexual violence and trying to get reduced sentences, because they went on to become criminalized through the process of their abuse. And it's something that we see more and more happening in our criminal justice system, is that someone will be a victim of abuse over and over again, and the abuser does not ever face any accountability. Sometimes they never even get arrested. And then as soon as the victim reacts in a way that society would not approve of, violently or otherwise, they are arrested and prosecuted to this full extent of the law. And it's disturbing to me that we would put this double standard on the victims. It's gotten so bad that there's now a group of victims attorneys that has banded together to represent victims in court for these types of situations. And whenever their abusers or their rapists are being prosecuted, the victims attorneys have to represent the victims because the district attorney's office is not doing it.
Why do you think they're not doing it?
It's a multi-layered problem, but I think it has to do with what I like to call buddy justice. And when certain defense attorneys or certain types of offenders come through the courthouse, they get preferential treatment, and they get the types of deals that you would never see anybody else get. They get to kind of coast through the system. They have their sex crimes pled down to, non-sex crimes. They're not getting put on the sex offender registry. It's just offensive. And our victims are feeling totally left behind. They're feeling totally forgotten and not spoken to. They have rights under Marcy's law, and they get to, they get to know about these things. They get to know if there's a plea in contemplation. They get to know what their court dates are. They're supposed to know these things, and they're just being lied to and not told the truth. And they're being lied about in certain circumstances. In one case, the offender and his attorney went to the press and told the press that it was a consensual interaction, it had originally been filed as rape, and they just are lying. It's just honestly crazy. Yes. And so I don't know I don't even remember what your original question was to me. Oh, how do I want to make these things better for the family?
Because that includes it. I mean, there's more domestic violence, emotional, it's not just physical, it's
Right.
emotional,
Right.
it's verbally,
Yes.
it's
There.
all of that. But when it gets to the point of that it becomes physical like it does, and more times than not, it is the woman,
Yes.
not the men.
Yes.
But it does, I mean, it happens on the other side too.
Right.
However, that's what I'm saying is we really need to address that problem
Yes.
because nobody's talking about it.
No. And it's so disappointing too, because our sitting DA has been there for 11 years. So it'll be about 12 years by the time the next DA gets sworn in. And if he wins this election, he'll get 16 years because there's no term limits for DAs.
Right. That's
And 8 years ago, when he made his goals to the community of what he wanted to do as DA, none of those goals included anything about reducing domestic violence rates. And now today, when he's running, none of his goals have anything to do with reducing domestic violence rates, even though we are number one in Oklahoma for domestic violence, and Oklahoma's number one in the United States for incidents of domestic violence.
You're correct. That's what I was about to pull up.
Yes.
Were the statistics about it
Yes.
and the facts about it.
Yes.
I mean, so we're number one where that's concerned.
Yes.
We're number two in the nation where
Yes.
divorce is concerned.
Yes.
I don't know what the rates are because I haven't looked up the statistics lately about people that are having babies outside of marriage. That doesn't help either.
No.
And then let's, look at the school system.
Yep.
I mean, we're no longer 50, we're like 51.
51. Yeah.
I mean, which means that it really, really stinks.
it's bad.
And Mike Mazie, what he wants to do, I was told by somebody that's a part of his, circle, that he wants to take a $6 billion slush fund and commit $250 million of it to a reading program. And I explained to this person how we taught our children to read, and they were well above, their
Yeah.
grade level for reading. But it starts in the home,
Yeah.
and it's a mentorship and a partnership between the teachers and the parents. But the parents have to do that job.
Yeah.
So with families and the divorce rate like it is in the state of Oklahoma, how in the heck is that going to happen?
Yeah.
It's not. So that's why I'm bringing it up, because we need to keep our homes safe first.
Yes. And, something that my opponent says about domestic violence that I virulently disagree with is he says that it is a matter of the heart, and that we say that we love these people and we need to just treat them like we love them. And that is unfortunately a very 1990s, 1980s view of domestic
doesn't fix
violence.
anything, though.
It does not fix anything. It doesn't keep anybody safe in our community. Because,
Accountability fixes things.
these types of behaviors are compulsive. They are about power and control. There's a lot of research on this. There is a lot of research on this. And if you do not hold these people accountable for the violent acts, they will never stop. They will never stop. And it will continue to escalate and get worse. And then you'll have strangulation, and then you'll eventually have murder. That's what's happening now. And to continue to apologize for and excuse this behavior is just this kind of boys will be boys attitude. Like you're saying, it is more women are being abused. I mean, men get abused too. I'm not discounting
children
that.
are getting
And the
abused.
children get abused, and the abuse happens in front of the children. And those are, traumatizing experiences that then they go on to repeat. And we've got
That's
to
correct.
start figuring out how to break the cycle of this. And I think it starts really young in our schools. I think we need to be teaching kids what healthy relationships look like, teaching them what healthy dating looks like, teaching them what a godly relationship looks like,
Yes.
and that you will be respected in your relationship. You will not be treated like this in your relationship if it's a loving relationship. And if it's not a loving relationship and you're being hurt, you need to walk away.
Yes.
That is not love. Love doesn't hurt. We have to be teaching our kids this. If they're not learning that at home, we have to teach them somewhere. I know we have to get to our churches, and we have to have our churches teaching them this too. I mean, I think there's a pervasive culture also sometimes in our churches where we're just supposed to be quiet and not talk about abuse and just try to keep families together. And it's like, I don't think we should keep families together when people are being actively hurt, you know? And so that's one thing that is a struggle, is it's like the divorce rate is high, but if somebody is leaving a situation because they're being hurt, I want them to leave, right? I don't want them to stay and get hurt, because unless that person's willing to really get intensive treatment and therapy, they will not stop.
But if we have a good old boys club, like we've had for a very, very long time, that's not happening because guys have a code.
Yes. And I do feel like it's pretty pervasive down there at the courthouse that, you know, if someone's been hurting a woman over and over again, they get a slap on the wrist. It's just kind of, they get passed through the system or gets dismissed, or, you know, we're not seeing the levels of accountability that we need to see to get this stuff to stop.
No, because women are seen as she's crazy.
Right.
If she wouldn't be so crazy, then that wouldn't have happened.
I mean, I see that all the time. It's almost like the most crazy making system. And then when you start to react in a way doesn't look normal because you've been driven insane by what's happening,
right?
Then you get called crazy, or you get called the abuser, or I mean, it gets turned on you in a way that is like, look, it's really her. She's really the problem, you know? And I see that all the time. And it's really a function of not being listened to, of being told to stay quiet, of not having anywhere to go to talk to people about what's happening. And even when you do go to the police or you go to the DA's office to tell them, they don't believe you. And so your own systems are gaslighting you. And we have got to start at the top. Leadership has to start at the top to say to Tulsa County, this is not okay. This behavior is not okay. And it will be prosecuted. It will be prosecuted.
And people will be held accountable.
Yes. Yes.
I believe that's really what you want.
Yes.
Right?
Absolutely.
And you want the leadership in place to be able to, go from here to here to here to here until we can change things.
Yes.
I mean, leadership is super important.
Yes.
And people don't know how to do leadership without being mentored, without being taught that, and without being coachable. They have to be coachable in order to do so.
Yes.
To learn how to be a good leader.
Yes. Yes.
And the person at the top, they always say, the person at the top determines what's at the bottom.
Yes.
And that's the truth.
Yes. And culture, there's this saying that I say all the time. It's Peter Drucker said it. It's culture eats strategy for breakfast. And if you are going to work in a place where horrible behavior is being rewarded and being promoted, and favoritism and toxic behavior, throwing each other under the bus, making fun of each other, not supporting each other, in an environment like a DA's office where people have to work really closely together to get the results for our public safety, and you don't trust the person that's working next to you, you can't deliver public safety results in a toxic culture, because you're kind of acting out the toxic stuff that you're seeing in the community with each other.
Exactly.
And they're not, when you go to law school, a lot of people go straight in from undergrad, and they're very young when they start law school, and then they go 3 years, and then they go straight into a job like prosecution, which is a very serious job. And they don't get any type of leadership training. There's no EQ skills or leadership training trained in law school. I asked my dean that the first day. I said, do you guys have any EQ skill training? Because I was training that at Bama, and I thought it was very important for anyone going into law to know how to do leadership.
I think it's important in the home.
For anyone.
I think it's important in a regular workplace, but especially where the law is concerned.
In a position of public trust, exactly.
Absolutely.
And she looked at me and she said, we don't do that here. So if you want to supplement your skills on anything related to soft skills or leadership or anything like that, you have to go find it yourself on your own. And they're not going to do that. They have to do CLEs. They have to do a lot of other things. There are, requirements to stay licensed and all of that. And they're not just going to go out and look for those kinds of skills on their own. And it shows. I mean, it shows when you go into court, when you get these little snide looks and little, sideways comments, or people commenting on Facebook about you, or it's just not a way that you want your public servants to behave. And it's a shame.
So one of the things that I hear when you say that is that social media determines a lot about what happens, which is sad, instead of the crime or the offense.
Yes. I mean,
determining the accountability.
Yes. I see a lot of focus on if there's a certain crime that has like stirred up people online or the media, or it's on Lori Fulbright, then those crimes are the ones that our elected DA ends up getting involved with and taking, so that he can stay in the spotlight. It's a lot about ego. It's a lot about, we're concerned with our public image, not necessarily with the public safety of it. And instead of looking at the facts of the crime or the risk assessments or anything that's actually data driven that we can use to make decisions, we're just kind of going with the whims of the people on Facebook.
Interesting. Or Instagram.
Or the comments on News on 6.
Right.
Yeah. Which is not where you want your legal system to be taking its cues from at all.
No, not at all. So what would you do when you become DA?
Yeah.
To implement a leadership program? What would that look like?
Yeah, I love that question. When I get there, when I win, we'll just say when I win.
Yes.
Everyone's asked me, what's going to be your first 100 days? Like there's this big push to know, and that's the new thing is, what's your first 100 days? And unfortunately mine's very boring, because it's going to involve a diagnostic on the organizational culture. And it's going to mean meeting with every single person that works there and essentially interviewing them again. Like, let's start from the beginning. And are you here for the right reasons? Are you here because you care about the community and you care about prosecution and delivering justice? Or are you here because you've been go along to get along, and you've been stabbing your other employees in the back, and you've been throwing them down and getting promoted over them, and manipulating and managing up, all kinds of toxic things that have been going on? I think there are some great people that work there. I think that they really want to do justice, and they've just been kind of ducking their head and just trying to get their job done. And then there's people there that are actively a part of a toxic workplace system. And so you have to figure out, just like if you were going to chemo, you have to figure out, which ones are going to have to go and which ones are going to stay. And I also have about 12 current and former prosecutors that have approached me about coming to work, and they want to come and work at an ethical, transparent district attorney's office. And so, hiring them, getting them onboarded, building a team dynamic. You're going to have to do some team building activities. You're going to have to make them feel valued. You're going to have some team lunches where everybody gets to know each other on a one-on-one basis. It's not just transactional where, here's the file, go to the prelim and do the prelim. It's like, you have to know that person, what's going on in their life, who are they, what brought them here, so that people can work together towards a common mission. That's what a mission-driven organization does.
So you would probably take some of the Bama University.
Yes.
And apply that to the DA's office.
Yes, I would like to do that. Yes, there's some really core teachings that we learn at Bama that I think everybody should learn. It doesn't matter if you're in a quote unquote leadership position or not. Everybody should just learn the basics of communication, of, respect, of empathy and compassion, of, we don't just treat every single file like it's a piece of paper. We treat every file like it's a person, and seeing the person behind the file and learning those kinds of skills. It helps you because you become a better person, but it also helps the community to know that those are the kinds of people that are high integrity people doing that work. And if somebody is stepping out of line and hiding evidence or acting unethically or being toxic in the workplace, you better believe they're going to be fired. Like, I'm not going to operate an office because I'm afraid of one person leaving. Nobody's ever indispensable, ever.
Right. No, I agree.
And people have to love you, and they have to respect you, and they have to want to work for you. And that's how you build a good team. But if anybody is in there that is not with pure purposes, they have to go. That's how you run a good team is people see you hold other people accountable for bad behavior. As soon as you let the buck slide with somebody, everybody sees that. And then the standard goes down from there because, oh, well, that person got away with it. So you've just really got to start fresh and say, here's where we're starting. Everyone's held accountable. And that's always how it's going to be. And those standards they've never really existed there. And so it's going to be a culture shock for a lot of people.
Well, I think if that were done in any, place of business, your home, at other workplaces, it would be a shock today because our culture is so messed up.
Yes.
That's really the truth.
Yes.
And people in the church aren't doing it. The people in government aren't doing it. The people, in Washington aren't doing it either. Right. So it's like,
I think people don't know how.
What do we do to turn it around?
They don't know how. I think they really don't know how, and they're not bought in on a common mission or common values. And so it's hard they don't have anything to anchor back to. Are
they just doing things to go along to get along nowadays?
Yeah. Yeah. I think, yes, people are intaking so much information from so many different sources. There's not like a common, I was just thinking about this the other night. When you go, used to in the 80s, even when I was growing up, we all watched the same shows. So like when we would come to school, we could talk about, oh, I watched Care Bears yesterday and I really liked the Care Bears episode. And you had something you could talk about because there was like a common culture. Everything online and everything now is so fragmented that no one has a common culture. Like you're watching something different than I'm watching, than she's watching, than he's watching something no one's ever heard of. So he has nothing to relate to anybody about his, so it's just kind of, everything's very fragmented and people don't have like a common language to talk to each other.
No, there used to be great shows on like the Seinfelds.
Oh my God, I love Seinfeld.
The Office.
Yes.
That at the water cooler, you could talk about things like that.
Yeah.
And King of the Hill.
Yes.
That was hilarious. People would, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Things are so different today.
Yeah. And you've got people getting information from podcasts, and then you've got people getting information from TV, and then you've got people getting information from some news, but mostly they're not watching local news. Most of their news they're getting from social media. And the information environment is so fractured and strange.
Exactly.
And so I think people need to have like a common language and common understanding of what's going on. You have to like rebuild that. It's almost like you're rebuilding some of the boundaries and the common understanding of things.
So that being said, tell the people that are listening why you're up for that job.
Oh, the last 2 years, like I said, I've been representing domestic violence survivors in court who are in prison, and they can now present evidence of their abuse under the new law, the Survivors Act, which I helped pass.
Is that through Appleseed?
Yes.
Okay.
And we passed it in 2024, and we brought 6 or 7 cases to court now. I was the lead attorney on 4 or 5 of them. And the first one was a woman in Seminole County, so not in Tulsa, in front of a different DA and different judge than we were used to. And she was the first one to go. And she had a life without parole sentence. So she was just sentenced to die in prison. And she got sentenced at 25 for the role she had in her husband's death. So she was being abused. And she went to her brother's house and told him about the abuse and that her daughter was also being sexually abused. Her daughter was 2 at the time. And he saw bruises on her. He said, "Don't worry about it. I'll take care of it." And she went back to work at the courthouse. She actually worked at the courthouse in Seminole. And he went over and waited in her house for her husband to come home and shot him when he came home. And he got life without parole, and so did she. So even though she wasn't even there or present, she got life without parole also.
Wow.
And she totally reformed herself in prison. She's a woman of God. She is a cosmetologist. She was a master instructor for the cosmetology school. She's been in since 1990. So in 2025, 35 years later, we represented her in court under the Survivors Act. And that day she was freed.
Oh my gosh.
It was incredible. It was an incredible experience. Say what you want to about soft on crime, blah, blah, blah. But when you meet people who don't need to be there anymore and their whole life is going to be wasted because of something that happened so long ago. And really today, she never could have gotten that sentence for that. It's a spiritual experience to see them get to be free again. We got to go to a Mexican restaurant that day, and she looked at me and said, "Can I go to the bathroom?" And I said, "Lisa, you can go wherever you want." She had never been able to go for 34 years to a bathroom by herself.
Oh my goodness.
So it's a kind of experience that most people don't understand, that institutionalization of what it's like.
In prison.
Yeah. And there were 4 or 5 more that were supposed to have that same experience, but they were Tulsa County cases. And so we came to Tulsa to do those hearings, and our elected DA did everything in his power, which is a lot, to stop those people from getting free under the new law.
Really?
Yes, those were my clients. And I even went to him before the hearings and said, can we have an agreement that you could support their applications? Because one of them has been in prison since 1998. And she's been totally reformed, started programs in prison, also is a Master of Divinity, has completely turned her life around. And she was never bad to begin with. She was fighting back against horrible abuse when she got arrested. And he unfortunately died that day. And she got charged with first-degree premeditated murder, even though she was fighting back in handcuffs at the time. So it's just crazy, the type of things that have happened. And you would think that 25, 26, 27 years is long enough for something like that. But he does not agree. He thinks they should die in prison. And it is a fundamental fracture in our understanding of the justice system. He believes that the jury gave her life in prison and she should die there. I believe that people should get another chance. And especially someone who's not violent, who's never been violent before that and wasn't violent in prison or anything like that since then. And I think it's wasteful to keep somebody like that who could be, a very productive member of society and pay taxes. And they can't now because of some arbitrary decision that he has made.
So she was not released?
No, I represented her at our hearing, and he fought tooth and nail every step of the way, delayed it over a year, brought in a forensic psychologist expert from out of state, which is very unusual for something like this, to testify against her, to keep her incarcerated. And it's still up on appeal, so I can't go into a lot of detail about why all that happened. But it just showed me that his heart has been made stone. It's not any other DA in the country would have just agreed to resentence based on the evidence that we had. And he, on principle, just wanted her to die in prison.
And did he tell you that he was going to do that before?
No, he was very, very hide the ball the whole time. We couldn't get discovery for a long time. We couldn't get records for a long time. The rules kept changing, things like that. And there were several things that happened during the course of that showed me that there was no soul left in that person. And so I prayed and prayed and prayed for somebody else to run for that seat. And every morning when I would pray it, I would open my eyes and there I am staring back at myself in the mirror. And I am qualified. I meet the statutory qualifications. I'm a lawyer. I've been a lawyer for 5 years. I'm over 28 years old. Those are the qualifications to run for DA. And I've done criminal law my entire career. That's what I've focused on. That's what I love. That's what I've always wanted to do. I don't want to do any other type of law. I don't like civil. I don't like family. I don't like any of that other stuff.
I wouldn't like it either.
It's not very fun, honestly. It's horrible.
Yes, I've been through it.
Yes. And so I just, after a while, it got so late in the game that no one else was stepping forward. And so I filed to run. I filed to run against him because he was about to run unopposed again, which he did in 2022.
Wow.
And I find it offensive that nobody would even give us a choice to have a better system.
Yes, I think that people should have other choices, because when you stay stuck in a position, you have a tendency to just it becomes status quo. You know,
I
what
think
it,
he sees himself as the system. I think he's been in it for so
Really?
long. He's done this for 37 years. He's been a prosecutor his entire life. He's never done anything else. He's never had another job ever. And when you're a government bureaucrat for that long, and the lights always stay on, and the bills always get paid, and the budget's always delivered, and you don't really know what it's like to have to run a business. You don't know what it's like to have to make tough decisions, to cut people or cut things to keep the lights on. And I think he's done it for so long that he thinks if it's his decision, that's actually the system making that decision. That I am the system. If you tell me you're a victim and I don't believe you, you're not a victim because I'm the system and I decided that.
one of the things when I was doing research on just what the DA does, I was really surprised about how active they are in determining what the policy is for our entire community at every level.
Yes. In very progressive DA's offices across the country, they will do things like they do these policies where it's like one size fits all policies. So they might say something like, oh, we're just not going to prosecute prostitution anymore. Like on the women's side we're not going to prosecute that anymore. And so they can just decide that. It's like their discretion, their prosecutorial discretion. And some of the jurisdictions have decided they're not going to prosecute ever again possession of marijuana, like singular possession of marijuana. They just don't want to devote the resources to it. And so the elected DA can just make those kinds of decisions like that. I will not be doing something like that. He has a policy that he calls gun crime in time, where
What is that?
if someone has possession of a firearm, they will get prison time, allegedly. I've seen a lot of people that had firearms that did not get prison time, but that's sort of like his, I guess, rule of the office. I think that's an offense to our Second Amendment rights. Just because you have a gun doesn't mean that you are violating more of the law than somebody else. Like if you're legally holding a firearm, I don't think you should be held to a higher standard or a harsher standard than somebody else who committed the same crime.
No.
It needs to be on a fact basis, on a case by case basis. We really should not have these kind of blanket policies. It just needs to be evaluated with legal eyes, every single case. And if there's in the history of that person, have they been a violent person? Have they been a gun crime person for 20 years and they're still out? Well, then they probably need to go in for in time. Yes. If it's a first offense and they were defending their property or doing something like that, then no, I don't think in time is necessarily the right approach.
Agree. Yeah, I think a lot of things in our community, in our state, in our nation need to be reevaluated.
Yep.
Because of the way that things have changed.
Yes.
I mean, we just do not hold people accountable anymore.
Nope.
And we've got to get back to that. And we don't have good leadership in place in order to mentor and to teach how the culture really needs to be run.
Yes.
In any business, any school.
Yes.
It doesn't matter what it is. I mean, any medical facility or any home. So...
And you can learn the law. That's what we get taught at law school. We get taught to learn different areas of the law, how to apply it, how to make objections. We can do all of that. That's what we're trained to do. But what we don't learn is how to be a good leader, how to be a good manager, how to be a good person, and that's more important to me. I think you can't train somebody to have integrity. You can't train somebody to have good ethics. Those things are born in to you from your family and from your parents and from your experiences. And if you have shown over 11 years or however long that you don't have those qualities, you're not going to have them all of a sudden now. We're not going to start seeing you have them now. You've shown us that you don't have them. And so that's why this election has been so particularly difficult, is because for me, I have lived by a very strict ethical code and accountability code for my whole life. And for people to say that he's still the better choice after seeing both of us and seeing what he's done is frustrating.
Well, one of the biggest things that they're saying is because you have never been in the courtroom
That is not true, which is
Okay.
fun.
Yes. Or, done the kind of trial work that
Right.
he's done.
That's right. That is true.
Yeah.
I have not been a trial prosecutor for 37 years. I don't think anybody running against him would be able to say that they've done what he has done for as long as he has done it, right? He's always going to be able to say, I have more experience than anyone. One of the biggest complaints about me is that I don't come up through the traditional pathway. So what they want is somebody that trained under him, that learned how to be a trial lawyer under him, that rose up through the ranks under him, and that he can then christen to be the next DA so that all of his record will be protected by that person. That's the handshake deal that they make with each other. That's what he did with Tim Harris. That's what Tim Harris did with the guy before him. And this is how they've always done it. And so that's why they're all so jarred by me, because I'm not going to do that. I don't have a handshake deal with him to keep his secrets. And so everybody better do get ready if I win, because it's all coming out.
And if you don't win, which I think there's a pretty good chance that you will win.
I hope so.
And that's the way that you should be thinking.
Yes.
You should have that attitude that when I am the DA.
I win. Yes.
Right. But if that doesn't happen, what will you do in your life to make changes in our culture, in our community, in our world today?
Yeah. I mean, I have the opportunity to potentially go back to Appleseed and take my job back over there, because I'm the founding director. So I went on leave and reserved that right to go back. After everything I've seen and learned and done in this campaign, I'm not sure if that's the path. Way leads on to way, as Robert Frost says. And I've learned so many new skills. I've met so many new people. I've seen so many things. I don't know if I can go back to just that.
If you could go back just to Appleseed.
Right. And they've been going along so well without me. I don't want to be disruptive. We promoted Brent. He was our legal director. Now he's the interim director, and he's doing so well. And I just don't want to, corporate cultures can be very, they can be touchy, and I don't want to be disruptive to what is going on there now. So we'll see what happens. That's one of the options. Another option is I just need to take some time, I think, to really think about it, because I have built so many connections and so many new friends, and so, so many possibilities. And so I don't know if I have an answer for you.
Well, what have you learned running for office?
Wow. I will never say that I wish I didn't do it. I think it's definitely been the right thing for me to do. I have been so heartened and encouraged by so many people who have come into my life from the beginning of the campaign until now, who have just prayed for us. They've prayed over us. They have, really taken bullets for me, metaphorically, online and everywhere else, to say that they believe in me and they believe in me being the right candidate. And that has been so just humbling and inspiring. I've learned how our community really makes decisions about who they like to run, who they want in an election. Hearing so many discussions from so many different clubs and groups, and, just seeing how people are really very engaged. A lot of people really are very engaged in the process and how they make decisions about their leaders. And it has reinvigorated a lot of hope in myself about our republic. 'Cause I had kind of felt disenchanted about it.
Really?
Yes. But now I feel like it's working. It's working just the way our founding fathers wanted it to work. Like, people are engaging in the town square. They are having debates. They are using their First Amendment. They are discussing things. Do I always like what they have to say? No. A lot of people have been very mean to me, but that's their freedom, and that's their right to say it. And I will fight to the death to defend it, because I love America and I love our rights. I don't want to live in a place where you can't say what you want and do what you want.
Exactly.
So
we need that right.
Yes,
For sure.
Yes. So it has reinvigorated my love of our system and my love of our Constitution, my love of just my community. I've met so many cool people that do so many cool things. And so that's what I've learned, I think.
Well, just so the listeners know, you're left-handed.
Yes.
I am too.
Yes.
So, you know how many presidents have been left-handed?
Almost all of them.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is what I think, just from being left-handed and doing some research on it. But the way that I live daily is that I have to learn everything in a world that was made for right-handed people.
Yep.
So left-handed people think differently.
Yes.
They open the door differently.
Yes. We use scissors differently.
Yes, we use scissors differently. I mean, we do all those things differently. So in my opinion, a left-handed person sees the big picture,
Yes.
and they have different ways of working on things than just being stuck in a rigid,
Yeah.
let's do it this way, this is the way it's always been done, that sort of thing.
Yes.
Versus a right-handed person. I mean, I just do believe they're more flexible.
I agree with you. I mean, I can remember, gosh, I don't even know how many times I had to take a test. I had to take a standardized test in a right-handed desk because there weren't any left-handed desks, or they just don't have those they don't make them anymore or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, now I have to figure out how to position myself to take a test differently than anybody else in the room. Or like in gym class, they would say, use your dominant hand. But what they really meant was your right hand. And so I grew up thinking that my dominant hand was my right hand, not knowing what that dominant was actually just the one that you used more. I didn't know any of that. So I had to think about everything. It just makes you flip your hemispheres of your brain differently. And I agree with you. I think we think about things a little bit more holistically. I think we have to switch up how our brain weighs information so many times a day. And we're more creative, I do think, because we have to use out of the box solutions, even in the smallest ways.
Right.
And so I think, yeah, I agree with you. I don't think that's why I will win or anything.
No, but I'm just saying your mindset is really more open-minded. It's more flexible than maybe being stuck into a pattern
Yes.
of being rigid. And this is the way it's going to be. This is the way we've always done it.
Yes.
Which is a part of the good old boys network, that sort of thing. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about just because you're left-handed.
Yes.
I just think it's an interesting fact. And just, you know, researching you before you got here today and then talking with you before we started. I mean, it's just, you're really an amazing person.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
I do believe that you want to do the best thing for Tulsa County for many reasons, for, you know, for the family, for what's going on with women, for what's going on to make us safer, not just safer downtown, but safer as a
everywhere.
whole.
Yes.
Because we have people coming in from all sorts of places now.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
That it's just become very different. We have people that are homeless like never before. I mean, I was just at the drugstore and there was a guy that walked in that's homeless, and we are out south. That just doesn't happen.
Yeah.
So it's not just downtown.
No,
that
it's
going
almost
on.
every intersection now. It's almost, I mean, it's all over. It's
The malls.
Yes.
Yes.
It's clearly a huge social problem that
Right.
needs to be addressed. You know, the DA doesn't do a ton of stuff on that front unless they're breaking the law and then
Right.
prosecute them. But
Right.
it's just desperate people do desperate things. And I think it generally does make most people who are hardworking citizens feel unsafe in their community. You know, whether that's always true or not, I don't think that a lot of them have, you know, they're not violent. I don't think a lot of them are violent.
No,
or
I don't
anything.
either. But it's just you're not used to it.
Right.
And so when you see it, I mean, I think one of the biggest reasons that we probably have issues is because of drug abuse
And mental health. Yes.
and mental health issues.
Yes.
And, you know, people are now out in the streets because they can't get jobs to pay their bills either.
Yeah.
I mean,
so you've
that's
also
another
got
thing.
that, the
Yeah.
inflation
Yeah.
and people getting evicted. And I think a lot more people are on the bubble than we realize. Like in one thing, one car break, one hospital bill, one, you know, eviction notice can set them off on that path much faster than what most of us realize.
Right. And most of us have ever
even thought about.
Yes,
Yeah.
because things are so different today. Okay, so before we close, I want you to tell the people of Tulsa County why you are the best one
Okay.
for the position.
So I believe I'm the best person for this job for many reasons. One of them is because we've talked about throughout this time, I am a leader. I've been raised as a leader. I've been raised in a very unique environment that like kind of sharpened me into an organizational leader that a lot of people haven't had. And I did that before I became a lawyer. So it was something that was ingrained in me through law school. And it was also systems thinking. Systems thinking is something that not a lot of people have or been trained in. And the criminal justice system is a huge system, but it's still a system that can be improved. And the only way we can improve it is from the top. You can't improve it as a cog in the machine. You have to do it from a leadership perspective. And I know how to do that. I've been raised in systems and improving systems my whole life. So that's one thing, is the management and leadership and systems thinking is what you need in that position, way more than you need somebody that has 30 billion jury trials that they do. As a lawyer, I can go into a jury trial tomorrow and try a jury trial. I know how to do that. I've been trained how to do that. Do I have a lot of experience doing it? No, but I know how to do it. And I can look at the rules and I can follow the rules and I can ask people around me who have a lot of experience to make sure I don't make mistakes. That's what all lawyers do. And I will staff my office with a very talented and qualified team of people who have that experience. That is just part of who I am. I'm not going to go into a situation and not be surrounded by the best, because I don't have to be the best in the room. I have to be the person that knows how to manage the best. That's what a real leader is. And so there's that. I'm going to build a great team. So I've got systems and thinking, systems management thinking. I'm going to build a great team. We have got to figure out how to address our public safety situation. There is people, not just downtown, but everywhere, that are repeat violent offenders getting very short probationary sentences. I see it happening all the time. We have a case that's going through right now of a guy named Elliot Binney who was drinking and driving his family out in Bixby, and he had 3 daughters and his wife in the car, and he was drinking straight vodka. He crashed, and his 17-year-old daughter was ejected from the car. She was dying on the side of the road. He ran away from the scene, left his wife and other 2 children in the car. They had to call 911. Someone else had to call 911. He was gone. And he was found 3 days later in Chakota, Oklahoma, on the run with a car full of pills and vodka. So he didn't, he found enough time to stop and buy more pills and vodka on the way down there. She ended up dying. He is getting a 5-in, 5-out plea from our current district attorney.
What?
Yes. And the district attorney and the defense attorney have a long-term working relationship. And that defense attorney gave Steve $1,000 within the month before this plea deal went through. This plea deal was suggested.
$1,000 for what? To his campaign?
To a donation to the campaign. Yes. And he says that is just his First Amendment right to do, that man can support his campaign and that it has nothing to do with the case. But I think that Tulsans have a right to question that even the appearance of impropriety in our system is too much. And so I made a pledge to reject any donations from any defense attorneys that come actively before my office if I win. I will not accept any donations from them if I have active cases with them, because I think people have a right to know that their DA is not doing pay-to-play justice. So that's the third thing. I'm an ethical hawk is what I call myself. And I stick to that 100% of the time, never wavering. I don't have the ability to do it. I just can't. And then, so the public safety, people going in and out, that's got to stop. If they have committed a new crime and they have a history that shows they're violent and we can do a risk assessment on them and shows that they are a risk to public safety, we're going to recommend the longest sentence. And if we can't get a deal on the longest sentence, we'll take it to trial. We're not just going to take the easy way out. And so that is one of the things we have to do to keep our community safe. But then I will also be prioritizing survivors of domestic violence and victims, and I will be listening to them and believing them. And if it means putting them on the stand and they want to go on the stand and they want to tell their story, I will put their case on. Even if it means we don't win, I will still do it because they have a right to that. They have a right to have their voices heard and to seek justice, even if it means we don't win. Because justice doesn't always mean winning, and winning doesn't always mean justice. Mm-hmm. That's what a white hat prosecutor is. That's why I wear that white cowboy hat as a symbol, because it means we do the right thing. Sometimes the right thing means, oh no, we hid evidence in this case and this person's wrongfully convicted. We need to take that to the court and undo that.
Right.
Sometimes it means doing everything you can to make sure that that violent person goes to prison. Sometimes that's what it means. Mm-hmm. And sometimes it means putting on a case where you have a victim that experienced something horrific, and maybe you don't have all the confidence in the world that the jury is going to see it your way, but you have faith in your case and you put it on, and maybe you don't win. Maybe you don't win, but you did the right thing. And there's a lot of people up there in that office that will not do that right now. Yes. And so those are the reasons I think you should pick me to be your next DA.
So Colleen McCarty would like to be your DA for Tulsa County. I will say this, no matter what you think about our voting system, if you do not use your right to vote, then you shouldn't say anything. I think no matter who you vote for, vote. Just go and vote, because we need to have really good people in office. And if we don't go to vote, we won't get them. So, Colleen, it's been great to have you on today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes.
It's been really fun.
Oh, good. I'm glad you enjoyed it.
Yes.
And I hope you'll come back.
Sure.
With whatever happens.
With whatever happens.
Yes. Yes.
I would love to.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.